Hi guys, how's it going? I'm here making a video at 50 no limit. I want to talk a little bit about flopping boats, obviously, but just things that will help you annoy regulars and just kind of stuff that is easily overlooked. Mostly like squeezing, floating, floating out of position, which we don't do often, but enough, and just bluff raising and stuff that seems kind of typical, but you don't want to try it too often. So I'm gonna be here losing money so you guys can learn from my mistakes and what's successful and what's not. So I'm going to try and get in some situations where I have opportunities to bluff raise and to kind of spew a little bit, so it should be fun. I'm hoping it's probably like a half hour. It might go a little longer, it just depends. Like here with this guy, his name seems, like he knows what he's doing, so I'm going to call in position and bluff raise a lot of flops and float the rest. I mean, my cards really don't matter. It's nice that I'm suited and connected and can flop two pair. So he checks really quick. I guess I'm just going to fire. It's really weird, he snap called. I think his most likely hand is jacks through kings. I don't think he has a flush. So I'm gonna if he has a spade he's gonna call. So I'm gonna bet 7. It looks like I'm giving him the right price. He's gonna draw a lot. And now he called again, so he's not gonna call with kings or jacks or queens. And if by some chance he has ace 10 or ace jack, I want to bet small enough to where he can call. So I think 17 is enough. If he raises, it's a really shitty spot, but I think his hands are pretty well defined as one pair. And here's a spot where we can squeeze. Again, cards don't really matter, but it's nice that we're connected, and we'll have decent equity post flop, but they're just gonna fold so often that it's profitable with a lot of hands. And I'll check this while we're waiting. Okay, so that's a good flop for our perceived range. Okay, he did have kings. Wow. He's 42-8 over a sample size of 12 hands, so it's nothing too set in stone that he's an idiot, but I think he's going to see the ace as a sign of weakness, or as a sign of strength, and that I'm betting it, means that I have it. And I'm just going to float here with the donk bet, and he folded. Okay. And he bets really small. That's a horrible card, because I think when he floats a lot, he's going to have a queen jack or a 7-8 type hand. I'm just gonna fold. There's no point in raising because I think he's gonna call too wide. I don't think he's gonna fold a pair, so I don't really see the point in betting. And he shows the bluff. Okay, so what we can take from that is that he's gonna bluff pretty small, and I'm just gonna check call over here. He's gonna bluff pretty small, so if he fires maybe 6 on that turn again, it's going to be more likely that he has a pair. So if he bets that small again, I will probably be bluff raising him, just because it seems like he's going to have some kind of semi bluff or some kind of stone bluff. If we were on the button here, I would call, but it's too early and I don't want to establish a loose image out of position, at least in their eyes. With the jack 5, if New Start was to raise and Senna Katie was to call, I would probably be squeezing here. It just looks really strong, and like here's another good spot to bluff or to float. The C-Bass guy was on a lot of tables when I was looking for open tables to join. So he's gonna at least be competent. I don't know if he's like any good or whatever. If he's just kind of like grinding out the frequent player points and whatever. This is an interesting spot. Like, my initial read was that he's competent, and this little bet can mean anything. So I think I'm going to call, and I'm going to continue on any spade, 8, or 10 river or turn, and obviously a 9. So like here, if he bets again, I mean his hand is polarized to like overpairs, sets, and air. I don't think he's gonna be firing again with air most times, and when he bets that big, it's just so hard to make sets and overpairs. But I think if he would have bet like 11 or 12, I could have got away with a raise, but I just don't think he's going anywhere if I raise. I know I said I was going to continue on an 8, 10, 9, or spade turn, but I mean, he's going to play straightforward most of the time, so I don't want to like go too crazy. If he were to check, I'd probably bet like just over half pot. It's enough to like get out his air hands and kinda just protect what I have in the pot so far. I mean, I'm not gonna win a big pot on the river either way, and pretty much no money's going in unless he improves on the river or he already has a hand that beats us. So to kinda like protect what we have already, I just kinda want to take it down because it was like 20 some big blinds. Yeah, somewhere in that area. So I mean, to lose that to an ace or king on the river when he fires is just kinda annoying. I mean, I wouldn't say it's bad, but like it just sucks to put so much in when you can just take it down right there. And here this guy was short, so I just shipped it in, and runner to boat. It's so easy to run well when you move down. King 9, I mean, I guess since it's folded to me, I can open. I don't really like it, but these people just are going to play pretty straightforward, so it doesn't really hurt me to open wide in the small blind. And I get 3-bet. I'm just going to pitch it. He's short, so he's going to gamble with like his ace-10 and his ace-9. I don't think I have any fold equity at all, and I don't think I have the best hand very often, if at all. So I'm just going to fold. It becomes a little more closer with like ace-jack or like pocket sixes or something, and I think I'd ship both of those in. But ace-6 just doesn't, it's not going to flop well, and it's going to be way too dominated. Here I'm just going to float. I could raise, but like if he's bluffing, he's just going to fold, and if he has a hand, he's going to call. So I put a bunch of money in when I'm behind, and if he doesn't have a hand, I have the best hand with ace high. When he bets small again, I believe this was the guy that we talked about that had that bet sizing tell with when he bet $1.50 and he was bluffing. But he did it with king 8 on a 9, 10, 10 jack board. Here I'm going to bluff raise. I mean, I don't really rep much, but like he's going to be firing the king high flop almost always. So I mean, I can rep like any diamond draw, queen 10, king queen, queen or king jack, and obviously pocket fives. So like even if he has like Jack 10, he can't really continue. And I think on that spot it's just it's pretty hard for him to float out of position. So essentially I'm forcing him to 3-bet or fold. So he's, risking most of his stack, and I'm risking $6. So I think that's better than bluff raising. And I want to check out this hand because I missed it. Okay, he was short, I was going to say, because he only got like 25 big blinds in with a set, so I didn't know what was going on. But he just busted a short stack, so there's really nothing to be said from that. I was going to say, if he misses value or something, it's something that we can exploit. So like if he bets flop, turn, and river, whereas if he was to bet flop and check the turn with the set, I mean, you can just either float or raise the turn, because he's just not going to have much. Like when he checks the turn with like a big hand, and then all of a sudden you see him betting the turn, unless he's like a really good regular, he's usually not going to be balancing his range, and he's just going to have standard lines. So like if you see him take a kind of weird like missed value line, chances are when he takes a much stronger line that he has air and he wants you to fold. I mean, it's kind of a weird concept just because it's so backwards thinking, but I mean that's what people do, and that's why they're down here multi-tabling 50 no limit, because every time they move up they get destroyed and they can't figure out why, but it's because they put a bunch of money in when they're bluffing and not enough in when they're value betting. Excuse me. Okay. So with the king jack, this guy said I wasn't going to 3-bet with the 10-7 suited. Having two Broadway cards eliminates card combos that he can have, like an ace king or pocket jacks or something. So I'm going to 3-bet and just kind of see what or how he reacts. I mean, it's an easy fold if he 4-bets, but I think this is a better hand to 3-bet just because it eliminates card combos, and I don't think he's going to be calling with like king queen type hands, whereas when I had the 10-7 suited, I think we're going to be dominated way too often, and we're going to have to hit like 2-pair or big draw to continue. But with like the king jack, I mean, I can feel relatively comfortable with the top pair, and I think he's going to 4-bet ace king, and I think he's going to fold king queen. So if I hit a king, I'm pretty much set. And I mean, now that he saw his instant muck to his 4-bet, hopefully we get a spot where we have a decent hand and we can get it all in with him. And not really sure how much attention he's going to be paying to it, but I don't think I'm going to bluff him or mess around with him like with a bluff raise or a float, at least for a little while, just because I mean he saw me kind of like, I mean I guess 3-bets are common now, but he saw me kind of messing with him, and he knows that I'm not going to be straightforward, and that I'm kind of spewy, I guess. I mean, that's obviously a rash judgment just because, it was 1 3-bet. But I think doing too many bluffs in succession when one doesn't work against the same person is just kind of lighting money on fire because they have the momentum, and even though like most of the time they're not going to care, it's just always in the back of their mind that they just want a pot from you. So they're just going to not give up as easily and not give me as much credit. Here, just flop a flush draw, and it's a pretty easy bet on a king high board. I'd bet this with most of my range. Three-way with the pocket tens. This guy is pretty short, so I think I'm just gonna check because I think he or she is gonna bet most of his range. When they check, I think it's more likely that they have some kind of hand. It's probably like 6-7 or something similar. I mean, I think they would like min bet a queen, or something that wants to get value. But I think when they bet, they're either really weak or they have some kind of hand with showdown value. When this guy check calls after checking the flop, that's a really weird line. He bets half pot, like 9-10 miss, but I have a combo of, or I have combos of tens that cancel out. I think a lot of time I'm gonna see like king X of spades, but I also think there's times when I'll see like ace 8 and he doesn't know what to do, so he's blocking. Okay, so he had spades. So just kind of keeping him happy, keeping him, in the game. He said I thought he had me. I mean, that's another thing. Like, people will like berate all these like fish when, like if he would have had like king 2 of spades there. I mean, he's just like, he's making losing plays in the long run, and berating him when he sucks out of, I guess, it's not really a suck out, but berating him and getting him to leave is very, very minus EV in the long run, just because you want him to stay happy and gambling and at your table, because he's not a good player. Let's see what he had there. Okay, so he just had top pair and went nuts with it. And this person doesn't know what's going on, but they're basically the same player. So I'm sure this person is pretty decent. I mean, they're basically doing the same thing that I did, in that they're just kind of chatting it up with the worst players, because it keeps them friendly and whatnot, and that's good because they're the reason we get money. So not too much going on in the way of hands. Just been bad situations here with the pocket nines a few minutes ago, where I flatted this guy's pre-flop raise and folded to the squeeze. I think that's pretty standard, just because I don't feel great about getting it in if he 4-bets. But again, my hand has too much value, so I don't want to 3-bet it as a bluff, and that's basically all it would be if I 3-bet, because I'm not going to get it in pre-flop. I really just don't feel good at all about that. And here it's nice to pick up a real hand in a squeeze situation after we squeezed these two people before, but they just really don't care too much, which is why it's profitable to squeeze a lot of hands, just because they're unaware and they're playing their cards, and if they don't have like jacks plus, they are just going to give up, because a 3-bet means aces or whatever in their eyes. Here this guy's pretty aggressive, but jack 7 off is just way too weak, and I don't want to like establish an image of calling 3-bets in position, even though it's better to call in position than out of position. Just not having the initiative in pots is it's just going to be losing me money because I'm going to miss 2/3 of the time, and he's going to continuation bet and he's going to take it down. So I'll just keep open raising more hands and not calling his 3-bets, because I want him to see that I'm kind of loose but giving up a lot, because eventually I'm going to get a real hand, and it's just like he's going to see that I'm splashing around in small pots, but I'm giving up in big pots. Here I'm just going to check because I took too long. I guess taking too long is kind of like thinking about what to bet, but I think a lot of times, he's gonna think, if he even cares, to be honest, he's gonna think that should I decide to bluff or not is what is going through my mind, and that's not what I want him to think, because he's gonna call with his ace highs and his 7-6 offsuit or whatever. Here I'm just gonna fold. It'd be kind of okay to look him up every now and then, but I think you just see some kind of dumb ace 5 or 6-5 or something that is trying to value bet thin or something. They don't really know why they do it, but they value bet thin just because they see a pair and they think they have to bet even though they don't know why, and usually when nothing worse is gonna call. But in a strange sense, they are good at value betting thin, even though they don't realize it. It's kind of weird. And here, this guy, had 8-6 offsuit when he called my pre-flop raise earlier. So, 9-9 queen hits him kind of in the face with trashy hands, and I don't think he's gonna call me with pocket 7s or pocket 8s on the flop. I'm just gonna fold because I think he's gonna 3-bet pretty light. But pocket 7s and pocket 8s, if he limps those behind, he's raising 31% of his hands. But I just think, I fold out all worse and I get better hands to call, and that's not really something I want when I can just check the flop and get a 6-7 type hand to call on the turn because he put me on ace king or something since I didn't bet. And here I checked kinda to induce and kinda to get value on the river, and that's pretty much what happened. I think betting there, I don't see what he can call me with, so I might as well give him the opportunity to bluff on the river. Here I'm just going to call, and I'm going to lead if I flop any pair. It puts him in a difficult position because he has this half stack kind of passive guy to act. This is pretty much as good as a pair, so I'm just going to lead and hopefully get it heads up with this guy, because I don't really mind going to war for 50 big blinds against what I presume to be a not good player, because he's gonna shove a naked queen of clubs there, and that's fine by me. If he shoves that and he shoves king jack or something, I still have 12 outs, so it's not too bad. And if he doubles up, so what? We're gonna get it back eventually. If the flop would have been jack 6-2 or something, dry, rainbow, I think bet folding there is fine, because most of the time it's going to check through, even though he's continuation bet every time that he's seen a flop when he was a pre-flop raiser. I think 3-way against what is probably not a good player, I think he's just going to check behind with a lot of his hands, and I think I'm just going to lose value. So I want to get money in the pot, and I can pretty safely fold when he raises. It sucks to, excuse me really quick. Okay, sorry about that. But what was I saying? Oh, I mean, when he raises, it kind of sucks because, you know, we have top pair, top kicker. But also when he raises, there's just not going to be too many weaker hands. I mean, I'm just going to call here because, you know, this guy is in the pot as well. And, you know, I have a decent multi-way hand. But, as I was saying, this guy, we have top pair, top kicker, and he raises. What's he going to be doing that with? Not too many hands that we beat. You know, I think you're going to see like queens plus, maybe a chop, maybe, you know, like some kind of weird bluff, but I think in general you're going to see a huge hand. Whereas if this nice owl guy were to raise, you know, I think you're going to see like Jack X, 6X, or, you know, just pretty much fucking anything. So I think betting there, you know, it kind of tells you where you're at, even though that's kind of a shitty reason to bet. It tells you where you're at against the kind of laggy player, and it gets you heads up most of the time with the worst player. So, I mean, I wouldn't do that every time, but I think, you know, a decent amount of the time leading there is best if you flop a pair. I mean, and if I brick off, it's, you know, an easy check fold. Here they have like 1.5x pot, so I think I'm just gonna bet call. I'm gonna bet pretty big, just so it eliminates the illusion that I'm gonna fold, and just so I have better odds to call. Like if they have pocket sixes or whatever, and I'm calling 4 into a $40 pot, you know, I guess it'd be like 35. But if I'm calling that, you know, I have decent odds, and you know, if I miss, because again, they're just gonna double up and give it all back eventually anyways. I mean, these tables are just too good. There haven't really been too many situations to like float and bluff raise. There was the one when we were blind versus blind, but like the floating versus bluff raising, I mean, wow, that's really weird. He limp calls and check shoves the flop. I don't really like it, but I'm gonna call just because this dead money's in the pot, and it could be some kind of random queen 10 or like jack 10, I guess, or queen jack. Okay. And here I'm gonna 3-bet. But back to what I was saying about wow, really? Here I messed up. I should have bet. I didn't even realize it was blind versus blind. You know, I just got carried away by talking. Here I'm just gonna shove. I mean, it might be aces or kings, but you know, there's a chance it was a misclick. There's also a chance it's ace king or ace queen, or even a lower pair than jacks. That's obviously a great board. Sigh. Oh, sick. I'm just gonna shove here. Like, I get him to call with his draws. If I bet like 3 there and the river bricks off, he's not gonna call with his spades, and I think he'll gamble it up if he has spades. So we'll see what he had. Oh, he had kings. I sucked out. Whatever. Well, that sucks. I pissed him off. But anyways, bluff raising versus floating. I think floating when the board is drier, like on this 10-10-6 flop, I'd be floating more often than bluff raising, just because when I raise, I'm repping pocket sixes and 10x. and I mean, that's really not a wide range. There's 3 combos of 6s, and you know, it doesn't, it's hard to say how many 10x hands I have in my range pre-flop, but there's not going to be too many. And you know, with 2 10s out there, there's not going to be too many combos of the hands that I have. So I mean, any kind of like aware player is just going to shove, or you know, they're going to call and see what I do on the turn. And I'm not confident in betting the turn again as a bluff after they call my raise on the flop. So floating there is, you know, more in line with what I would do with my range, because you know, when I would flat pre-flop, most of my range is like you know, a pocket pair or something similar, and you know, just narrowing my range to 6s and 10x is you know, it just sucks because we're repping too narrow of a range. So like, on the contrary, like, this board would be a good board to bluff raise, but since I have a kind of disguised double gut shot, I'm just gonna call. I mean, if I hit a 2, I'd chop with a lot of his hands. Don't really know if he's gonna fold his ace high. I mean, I guess I can bet like 5 into the 9 pot and just kind of pray he folds his ace queen. Okay, so he had a pair, whatever, that's fine. I think when he checks the turn, most of the time he's gonna have an unpaired hand, but a lot of the time it's gonna be like an ace jack or an ace 10, and you know, it's just, it kind of sucks when he has like pocket 6s or whatever, but I think we win that enough of the time to be profitable. I think we only have to win that like 2/3 of the time, and you know, I think we do. So I think that's not too bad. Here, this guy's really tight so far, but you know, I don't see any reason not to 3-bet, because if he has a decent hand, he's going to go with it, because you know, I'm playing 21-18 and I'm kind of splashy. But he folds, so whatever, that's fine. Not too much else really to say. This board, the ace 3-6 2-tone, I think that's a good board to bluff raise as well. I mean, there's just so many hands you can rep. You can rep like 4 or 5, or any clubs, any set, as well as like an ace X suited if for some reason you have that in your range. And I mean, if they don't have an ace, they're not going to continue. Even if your line does look kind of like, you know, I have a draw, you know, I'm all in or whatever. You know, he can't shove with like pocket kings there, just because it's like, it's way too likely that I have a made hand already. Here, I mean, blind versus blind against a 32-30. I'm just gonna call and kind of play poker with him post flop. And here I'm gonna isolate. It's an okay board to call one street and kind of see what I get on the turn. Like if I had a heart, you know, I don't think betting there is fine. Like leading out into him is fine. You know, he checks, so it's likely he doesn't really have anything. Like he might have pocket 10s or something, but you know, I'm just gonna take the showdown. Like I don't think he's gonna call with pocket 10s or ace king. So I mean, I also don't think he's gonna bluff. So if he bet, it's probably an easy fold, just because you know, he's not gonna be bluffing too much. So he had ace 8. Yeah, I don't think he would have called with that. He might have, but I think it's an okay check. Let's see. So I talked about bluff raising, talked about floating, talked about squeezing. I mean, other than that, like, it's just pretty much ABC with, like, every now and then kind of making moves. I mean, I don't want to, like, give off the impression that I do this, every orbit or whatever. I mean, I'm just, trying to get into spots where I can do it a lot for the sake of the video. And, in a real setting, I would say, I mean, I can't really give an accurate measure just because it's going to be different all the time. But, like, maybe 3 or 4 moves or not in orbit, but 3 or 4 moves a session, and a session being like maybe 1,000 hands. I mean, I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but it's just enough to like balance out your range and to give you a more splashy image. Like, I don't know. I mean, I've done so many moves this session already, but I would say, like, to limit them to maybe like 3 to 5 for every 1,000 hands you play, because you're only going to flop a set so many times, and if you keep bluff raising and floating and doing all this stuff, they're just going to catch on, and you're just really not going to get any credit at all when you bluff. And that sucks, because you want to like maintain a normal image, so you can like pick up pots without showdown. And when you lose that ability, you just gotta kind of tighten up and play more solid. So it's been going for 37 minutes so far. I think I'm gonna unpost my blinds and kind of just go through Poker Tracker a little bit. I didn't really filter for this session. I mean, it's still got my session from just about an hour ago, where I docked off 2.5 buy-ins. But oh well, so you'll get to see that carnage kinda just as a little added bonus. And with the 10-9, I think that's pretty standard. I just bet $1 into the $1.50 pot and got min raised, so I called, and we checked it down. I mean, there's really not too much value to be had by 3-betting the flop, or by like leading into him on the turn, just because he's either going to have top pair or he's not, and he's going to fold like his not hands, and he's going to keep continuing with his top pairs. And there's only so many kickers that are littler than my 9. I think it was 10-8-6. Oh, 10-8-3. So I mean, even though he was in the big blind, I guess I was in the big blind, he limped out of the gun. So I would say like 10-7 and 10-7 and above probably. So like leading into him just gets his trashy air hands to fold, and gets us up against his 10x hands, and we're only ahead of one of his 10x combos. So I think that was okay. I don't know, it might be kind of bad, but whatever. And so we're done on this table, done on this table. Okay. Okay, so I played about 23-18. I mean, I think that's pretty normal for 50 no limit. Won 2.5 buy-ins, so that's good. I'll filter for just 50 no limit. Okay, so my steal percentage could have been higher, like 35 or 36 would probably be better. If you notice, my squeeze percentage was insanely high, but it's just because people were, giving up too easily. So, like, it doesn't really matter how many times I squeeze if they're just gonna give up every time. I mean, nothing else really to say. Like, I ran hot. See, I didn't really lose any huge pots. 20 big blinds was, the biggest pot I lost, and that's how you're gonna win sessions, is just not lose pots. And I mean, I didn't really even win a bunch of big pots. It was, a bunch of like smallish, medium-sized pots, and that's pretty much all you can do is, kind of like capitalize on the medium pots, and because like the big pots are going to play themselves. I mean, I had top pair against this guy's top pair, and I outkicked him, so like that's going to play itself. But how you extract value in these medium-sized hands is going to determine your win rate, and how much you profit when cards really don't fall your way. And I mean, cards kind of ran hot today, but I mean, I'd play the same if they weren't running the same. So like I mean, 86% won money at Showdown is insane and definitely not normal. But I mean, just like playing aggro and just squeezing and annoying the hell out of regulars is just gonna net you so much money, because people don't really know how to play back at that, at least not until like higher limits. So I mean, hopefully this helps a little bit. Like, if you have any questions, just post in the forum. I mean, I'm always there, so it's not a problem. Other than that, good luck at the tables, and